Welcome to Shivering Timbers Dojo. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit rather than do. I'm still in recovery, so nice and easy. I want to talk about women's self-defense this evening. So that's what we've been doing. We've been doing Danzen Jiu-Jitsu's Fujin Goshin no Maki board. Fujin Goshin no Maki means the scroll of women's self-defense. So Fujin, women, Goshin means to defend, and then no Maki, the scroll of. There's a lot of people who don't like women's self-defense courses in general. The thought of that being, if you're going to do anything, learn a martial art, learn the actual art. Don't learn part of it. Don't learn, just a little bit of something and get yourself in a bad situation. And I've never really liked that philosophy much, because I like the philosophy that you do what you can. And Fujin Goshin no Maki is specifically geared towards women doing what they can. Maybe they can't, for whatever reason, do all of the jiu-jitsu curriculum. Interestingly enough, Danzen also has a board, Fusegi Jitsu, which is essentially a self-defense board geared towards anybody, mostly men, just because that tends to be who mostly shows up to martial arts classes. Fujin Goshin is really geared towards women specifically. It's longer, it's more involved than the Fusegi Jitsu board. And the reason for that is fairly simple. Professor Okazaki, the guy who codified it, with help from many others, he really felt that women needed the leg up, if you will, to get over on people who would perpetrate violence on a woman. And I like that philosophy in that, one, if you cannot take the whole art of jiu-jitsu or the whole art of karate or taekwondo or judo or some other style of jiu-jitsu like Brazilian jiu-jitsu or Tadori jiu-jitsu or Krav Maga, whatever you're doing, if you can't do the entire thing, do something. And that is the goal. The goal behind Fujin Goshin no Maki is to allow you to do something. It is not to imbue you with false confidence. And one of the arguments I often see made against women's self-defense courses and defense courses in general is that they instill people with false confidence and they'll go out and get themselves hurt. And in my experience, which, it's free, so take it for what it is, very few people ever enter a dojo with actual trained people and walk out super confident at the end. It doesn't matter what art you do. If you are new to something and you walk in, you're going to get a little bit schooled. Thus is the nature of training a martial art. Even, somebody who's done martial arts before, every time I go into a new school, I tend to learn something I didn't know before. That's how it should be. That's why we go to other schools. That's why we learn. That's why we test ourselves. And so I never truly worry that somebody's going to take a Fujin Goshin no Maki course and go out of their way to find trouble. The people that I've worked with, the people that I've had the pleasure of teaching women's self-defense to, have by and large already had issues. The vast majority of women that I've taught self-defense to have already had somebody either attack them or put them in a bad situation. There's always something there that they're doing this with the thought of, that thing happened to me and I don't want it to happen again. So it's not that I'm encouraging people to look for trouble. Trouble is already there. My goal is to give them a tool. It may not be as many tools as the entire syllabus, but it is a tool. It is meant to keep them confident enough to be a hard target. And the confidence to be a hard target in a self-defense situation is certainly better than cowering down and hoping you just don't get hurt too badly. So as we continue through our Fujin Goshin no Maki board, it'll be a little slow. I've got a couple weeks of healing to go before I really feel back where I'm back to demonstrating this stuff. But as we go through this board, I want you to keep in mind the goal is to help people be confident enough not to ignore trouble, not to go find trouble where there was none, but to be confident enough that they can do something if trouble finds them. Because again, by and large, trouble has already found so many women. My goal is to make sure that if trouble does find them, they can at least let the other person know they've done been in a fight. That's the goal. That's all that any of us can ask. As we go on, Fujin Goshin no Maki has defenses against weapons, and many people don't like to teach defenses against weapons because it gives people, again, they say, false confidence. Once again, I have met no one in my martial arts career who thinks that learning a defense against a knife or a gun makes them invulnerable or foolproof. You learn real quick training with anything, weapon, non-weapon, how quickly it can all go sideways. And I remember being young and learning this stuff and getting schooled. I remember being old and well versed in martial arts and going against new people who are better than me and getting schooled. Anybody can school you, and you never know who it's going to be, who that person might be. And so the lesson is not we're invulnerable. The lesson is not we can take on anything. The lesson is if we must, we can try. And that's all anyone can ask for when they do martial arts anyways. Though Yoda said do or do not, there is no try, part of what he meant was quit trying and think you're going to fail. Try and do your best. If you fail, you fail. But give it everything you've got. And that is the goal when we teach these self-defense moves. So I hope you're still enjoying them. There will be more to come. We'll do some more talking videos over the next week or so while I get back a little mobile. And then we'll start back into the Fujin Goshin no Maki. Thanks. Y'all stay safe.